Welcome to another episode of Dating App Disaster Stories podcast talk show, where we discuss all the fun and crazy dating stories that you love. Today, we are diving headfirst into the chaotic, sometimes hilarious, and honestly sometimes baffling world of first dates. We've all been there, right? You're hoping for that spark, that chemistry, but sometimes you just get a full-blown catastrophe. So, how do you handle it? We've got a story today that is the perfect field guide on what not to do, and more importantly, how to get yourself out of there when things go south. Let's get into it. You know, it's a question that probably makes a few interesting memories pop into your head. But the story we're about to unpack, it really sets a whole new standard for dating disasters. It's this wild ride of red flags, confusing contradictions, and moments that are so cringy you'd think they were fake. But they're not. All right, let's meet the main character of today's explainer. We're calling him Mr. Bling Stingy. And honestly, his story is a masterclass in what not to do. This isn't just about a bad date. This is a full-on case study in flexing your wealth while also being spectacularly cheap. And this whole disaster just gets worse at every single turn. It starts with these super intense DMs, calling her my queen right out of the gate. Total love bombing move. Then he shows up in this flashy car, which seems impressive at first, until he goes on a 45-minute mission to save 5 pounds on parking. The absurdity just keeps climbing when he loudly asks for a good table for her online aesthetic. And the whole thing ends with him, get this, calculating her share of the bill on his phone and then asking for gas money. It's just a perfect storm of red flags. Okay, let's just sit with this for a second. 45 minutes. He's in a brand new, shiny sports car, and he wasted almost an hour of their date just to avoid a fee that probably costs less than the gas he burned driving in circles. I mean, this one single action tells you everything you need to know about the bizarre logic we're dealing with here. Wow, this quote, it just perfectly sums up his entire mindset, doesn't it? He wasn't there to connect with a human being. He was there to stage a photo op with a prop. And by saying this out loud to the hostess, he's basically reducing his date to an object for his own social media clout. It's not just awkward, it's so deeply objectifying. And here it is, the central puzzle of this whole story. It's this fascinating, just mind-bending contradiction. On one hand, he's flashing screenshots of his bank account and pictures of a yacht. But on the other hand, he orders tap water for himself, literally picks berries off her plate because he's not that hungry, and then has the nerve to ask for gas money. It's a performance of being rich that's completely torpedoed by his own cheap behavior. Just when you think it can't get any worse, oh, it does. He pivots from being financially weird to just being personally offensive. Asking about her sexuality is already way too intrusive, but then following it up with the perfect trophy wife comment, that's a deal breaker on a whole other level. It's demeaning, it's misogynistic, and it just shows zero respect. So after a story like that, the biggest question is, how do you protect yourself? If you find yourself on a date with your very own Mr. Bling Stingy, what do you actually do? Well, that brings us to the survivor's toolkit. Let's break down some of the key safety issues here. You see, when he insisted on picking her up, that wasn't just a nice gesture. It was a control move. It took away her easy escape route. And that's why arranging your own ride is so important. It's non-negotiable. And maybe the hardest rule to follow is getting over that politeness trap, that feeling that you can't make a scene. But you are never, ever obligated to trade your own comfort and safety for someone else's feelings. Your time is valuable. You can always leave. Those "my queen" messages, that was a classic early warning sign. That little feeling in your gut that says, this is a little much, a little too soon. That's your intuition, and you have to listen to it. When something feels off, it usually is. And you've got to protect yourself by setting boundaries. Don't give out your number or where you live right away. And probably the most important thing, remember their bad behavior isn't about you. After a date like this, unmatching and blocking isn't being rude. It's just essential self-care. Okay, so let's flip the script for a second. Look, none of us are perfect. What if you're the one who says something awkward or offensive by mistake? It doesn't have to be as bad as the trophy wife comment, but we've all put our foot in our mouths before. Is there any way to come back from that? The answer is yes. And there's actually a playbook for this. It's pretty simple. First, just address it. Don't pretend the awkward silence isn't happening. Second, give a real, direct apology. Third, show a little vulnerability. Admit you're nervous or that you just misspoke. And finally, it's really on you to take charge and steer the conversation back to something that was actually going well. Now, this part is so crucial. For any apology to actually work, it has to be genuine. That means you have to avoid the dreaded non-apology. That's when you say something like, "I'm sorry you feel that way." That's not a real apology. It's a defense that's basically blaming the other person for how they reacted, and it is the fastest way to make a bad situation even worse. So in contrast, this example shows what taking ownership really looks like. It acknowledges the mistake head-on. I have no idea why I would bring that up. It adds some honest self-reflection, too much talking and not enough thinking. You see? It's humble, it's sincere, and it actually gives the conversation a chance to recover because it shows genuine self-awareness. So, we've walked through the disaster, we've built the survivor's toolkit, and we've even got a recovery plan for when you mess up. Let's pull it all together into one final master plan for surviving that first date. So what's the big takeaway here? It really comes down to two different approaches. If you're the one feeling uncomfortable, it's all about safety first, trusting that gut feeling and setting strong boundaries. And if you're the one who messes up, it's about humility and awareness. You gotta read the room, own your mistakes without getting defensive, and please, just be self-aware enough to know that bragging about money while acting cheap is a terrible look on anyone. And that kind of brings us to our final thought. The line between a simple mistake you can recover from and a hard deal breaker, well, that line is different for everybody. What one person might forgive with a good apology, another person might see as a sign that you're just not compatible. And at the end of the day, knowing your own boundaries is the most powerful tool you have. So, where do you draw the line? Well, we hope you enjoyed another one of our episodes. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.